Hi everybody, welcome to the final video of Module 1 of the 3 teams. So this particular video is called the Purple Team. So we're going to be discussing that particular team in this video. The Purple Team, as we've discussed before, is a blend between the Red and Blue team. So it's not a official team in the respects of the organization. So you're not going to see it on payroll, it's not going to have its own budget. In some cases, some organizations will use a email distribution list that kind of has all the members of the blue and red team, so that way people can contact the quote purple team directly. So for anybody out there who caught it, so the reason it's called purple is because red and blue, when mixed together, creates the color purple. So this is a growing term in the industry right now. So people are trying to morph their own purple teams inside of the organization. And the one that I am working for is no different. It's a good combination between red and blue. So why is this particular team needed? There's something called a detection feedback loop, which is extremely important, not just for detection, but a feedback loop in general. In a sense, is the ability to take an action, get a response, and have a reaction, and have that loop come back around to produce a different result on the next go round. So in this case, the detection feedback loop would be the blue team has put in a detection for logging or notifying them about a specific command. The red team then comes in, makes a adjustment to the command. It's no longer seen. We report that back to the blue team, which in them turn their response is to fix the problem, and then we go back and forth. So that's what I mean when I say a detection feedback loop, which also feeds into consistent improvements. So a blue team in a normal sense does not contain any red team members. There may be a few individuals on the team that branch out a little bit and will test things out on their own. But in a general sense, most blue team members do not focus on red team engagements or activities. So the things that a red team member is going to look for is not always the same as a blue team. So how they write a particular command, how they write the detection for that command, the process of elevating from a standard user to root or administrator, depending on how they did it, there may be a detection in place for that. We also quickly identify missing detections, which again is part of that feedback loop as well, where if we know that something's missing, let's say red team goes on an engagement and they identify a certain way to elevate their privileges or run a particular command or view a password file that was not alerted to, that's a good reason for the feedback loop, and that's kind of why the purple team is needed. There's an additional step around training, but we'll get to that in a little bit later. So there's simulations and active tests for a purple team, right? So red team engagements, they get an unknown test, which I've talked about in the blue team video previous to this, is around the blue team not knowing that a test is about to happen. So the detections are live, they're real. As far as they're concerned, they have no idea whether it's an internal person, external, or it's the red team. So, but there's also something called replays, where the red team will sit down with the blue team in sort of a purple team aspect and run through an entire engagement from start to finish. Everything that was done, every command, every tool that was ran, and the goal of this is to go through step by step. How would you build a detection around this and this and this and this until you get through the whole engagement where everything should be detected going forward. So that's kind of something that should happen on a monthly or semi-monthly basis, depending on the organizational needs. Phishing is another one of those simulations that can be a simulation or an active test. So in some cases, there's a simulation of a phishing engagement where we're testing the employees specifically, so the blue team will know that that's happening. In other cases, there's an active test where they have no idea that this is actually happening, and as far as they're concerned, it's real, it's somebody from the outside, and they just need to sort that out, block the domain, clear everybody's mailboxes of that particular email, validate what's been clicked, what's not. So the final step is training, and this is really the blood, sweat, and tears of the purple team, along with the feedback loops and everything, is the training aspect. So I'm going to skip the swap for now, but the single session is a good type of training because it allows people from the red team and people from CERT or the blue team to take an hour and a half to teach everybody something. So a red team member might come over and teach everybody on the purple team or on the blue team, or in this case the purple team, teach everybody how to do a particular task, whether that's static analysis, running a particular tool, building your own tool, how to exploit this particular service, how to handle phishing engagements. So there's a lot of training that tends to happen where it's cross training. So the swap is another important role. It's more like a role swap than anything. So we take a red team member and move them over to blue for a week or so. They perform the standard actions that a blue team member would, and they sit with somebody who's a little bit more senior, so normally a lead, to kind of go through and learn how the aspects work. Sometimes it's not a direct swap. Sometimes it may be a sit down with somebody for a week to help identify what they do, how they do it. And the same thing goes for blue team or red team. So red team or blue team can go to red and do some testing, participate in the engagements, sometimes just sit with a red team member. So there's a lot of variety there that can happen inside of a purple team. So at this particular case, this is the end of the first module. I know it's a lot of text, it's a lot of information. Don't worry, the next few modules will get a little bit better. It's just more of a learning curve at this point, trying to get you up to speed on what the teams are, how they're important, the processes that are in place, because it's good to know that as well as the technical side.